Okay, it's the 50th video on this channel and I am excited because I am moving forward and it feels good that you guys like what I'm doing. Even though it's a hobby, I want to keep doing it to make you guys happy because, dare I say, it also makes me happy. I'm an entertainer at heart. I was the class clown, I can't help it. I also know that I've been just a little late on my uploads. That's because it's the time of the year where the Minecraft server is up for a couple months. So that's gonna be the background footage for this video. Also, I hit 500 subscribers recently and I wanted to do something for that goal. I've been floating around a few ideas. Maybe I do a face reveal or something, but that'll probably just come later anyway. So I decided that I would let you guys choose the topic for the video for our 500 subscriber special. And you can check that out either by scrolling through YouTube or heading over to my page and checking out the communities tab to cast your vote. Let it be known that if your choice doesn't win, I'm still going to make the videos anyway, but they'll just come at a later date, of course. Once again, thank you for 500 subs, and here's to 500 more. And now, here's your video. Once again, the gamers are under attack for liking women? It has come to my attention as of late that the latest push against the sensibilities of the straight man is that we shouldn't be allowed to look at 3D gazongas because... Oh, wait, I'm confused. Why is it a bad thing to want beautiful women in your video games? Because it can't be for the sake of realism. You know that people with the body type of Samus exist in real life, right? People shaped like Peach exist, Zelda, Bayonetta, Lara Croft, Tifa, fucking Chun-Li. So where is the disconnect that I seem to be missing? Is this another case of rules for thee and not for me again? Huh, gosh, these people just don't know when to quit, huh? You do realize the subject matter for a lot of the games that have come out recently that have been bombing should appeal to men, right? Is it safe to say that by and large, most women aren't fans of violence and violent video games? But what are the games that have been coming out and bombing been filled with? Violence. Kill the Justice League, Forspoken, Dustborn, Concord, Star Wars Outlaws. All these games should appeal to the male sensibility of a power fantasy. They should. Now, I'm not discrediting girl gamers. They exist and are present in the community. But believe it or not, girls also like looking at hot chicks. But for every one girl that likes to play an FPS or an action-adventure RPG, there's 200 men on the same boat. Yes, I'm generalizing, but you can't deny the sentiment remains true. You cannot villainize a man's sexuality and then attempt to strong-arm him into buying a game with ugly characters. Or at least ugly by contemporary standards. And yes, there are games where you can customize your character and have them look like any matter of individual similar to what you'd see in a Walmart in Florida City, but it's actively a choice and not a demand of the paying customer. We all understand that sex sells. You either produce something that makes people feel attractive or show them attractive people. Tomb Raider, Street Fighter, Dead or Alive, Dragon Ball.
Niggas call me the drink.
It's either going to be a power fantasy or a Gooner one, with some overlap here and there. Where does Pokemon fall? Well, the fur freaks made sure that one fell straight in the middle, unfortunately. If you know that interesting fact about Vaporeon, then you know what I'm talking about. The term safe horny has been floating around a lot recently on the interwebs, and for those that don't necessarily understand, it essentially comes down to corporate approved gooning. And it is said corporate approved gooning that is the crux of this entire issue, at least in my own opinion. Let me paint a better picture. This safe horny, this bad horny, this safe horny, this bad horny. To those who are listening or multitasking, something that I wouldn't know how to do, safe horny can be categorized as the kind of sex appeal that, while not generally enjoyed by the masses, mainstream outlets have no problem with promoting because it looks good to the crowd that would otherwise crush them on social media for uplifting the kind of beauty that some pseudo-Puritans on the internet deem unobtainable, unrealistic, deeply misogynistic or problematic, or the newest term in their ever-changing vocabulary, Gooner bait. And honestly, it's just becoming so tiring. A good example of this in recent memory is when Hades 2 started making its rounds around the internet and the Gooners were up in arms about the depiction of Aphrodite and how she seemed a bit more ambiguous or even masculine gender-wise rather than the beauty incarnate like how one would expect her to be when depicted in media. I mean, say what you want, but I think if you're portraying a deity whose entire thing is being Gooner bait, then there should be no room for misinterpretation. But the funny thing about that was that image of her was really the only example of her looking weird that I could find, because when you play the game, she looks fine for the most part. So one could reasonably chalk this whole thing up to a bunch of horny ass MFs overreacting. But I have to say this, why should I, as a consumer, take the chance at buying and playing a game to see the goods, when the best possible version of the product should have been shown off rip? And when the complaints were made, the stance taken by the gaming journals instead was, you may not know this, but this is what sexy looks like now, losers, or you're just mad that you can't jork it to these characters anymore. Which is a sentiment that we will be getting back to later. Another example that I can pull, one that was probably a bit more controversial, is the option for bestiality in Baldur's Gate 3, which plenty of articles were created calling from the rooftops of how hot and necessary this kind of sexual freedom is in video games. D&D has always been horny. Now we can finally live out our fantasies. Get with the times, old man. Stop being a pussy. This is hot. And it was just like, bro, stop being gross. Yeah, it's in the game, but that's because of how well the game itself interacts with the player choices due to the skills of the developers and the creativity of gamers actually playing the game, rather than something deliberately put in for people to get hot in the pants for. And it was showcased as a look at how crazy this game can get with your choices, rather than being a rallying cry for the people who are actually into this kind of stuff. And you know, I could be wrong and I accept that, but it's still weird nonetheless. That being said, Baldur's Gate is a great game that I played through twice and it deserved every award that it won. And with that tangent aside, back to the meat of this topic. I wanted this video to basically be about how video games were made for Gooners. That it's okay to be horny for a video game character. That it's okay to want beautiful people in your media. But there might actually be more to this than I thought previously. Look at Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation. What the fuck happened to Mary Jane? Peter got the facelift and she got hit with the ugly stick. I mean, side by side, you cannot deny that these are two completely different people. They don't even compare from the first game to the second. What is going on with the increased downgrading of women in video games? It wasn't just Spider-Man, it was Forspoken, Kill the Justice League, the face model for Tanya and MK1, and the newest wet noodle, Star Wars Outlaws. The bastardization of the female form is on full display and the paying customer is starting to get upset. I remember at one point the defense for the uglification of women in gaming was that there were limitations with the facial scanning technology, but if you look at another Star Wars title, Jedi Survivor, the actor for Cal Kestis is a 1-for-1. If you look at an even older game for The Force Unleashed, Sam Witwer, it's also a 1-for-1, and this game came out in 2008. Clearly the ability to get accurate facial scans are there, so it's either a lack of skill due to the dismantling of being brought onto a project based on merit, or a bold refusal to give the predominantly straight male audience what they want. And all I have to ask is why? Why is the male gaze so demonized in Western culture? To what ends are these companies attempting to get to by alienating their core fan base? It has become all too clear that a lot of the stuff that's coming out now aren't for people like me. But I'll tell you what, if I can't imagine myself getting jiggy with a 3D waifu, then I'm not gonna pay moneys to see that crap. And I think that's perfectly fair. Hate all you want, there's a reason why Concord went down the shitter. The best example in recent history that I can think of on the point of games being for Gooners would be Stellar Blade and the controversy surrounding it. Not only was it a cool looking game with great graphics and fun gameplay, they made the MC bad as hell and people loved that. Yeah, there was some added controversy about the mild censorship for some of the outfits for Eve, but the reception was still overwhelmingly positive for a game that gave people what they freaking wanted, a good time and a beautiful fucking woman. Plenty of articles from gaming outlets calling the people that liked it weirdos or misogynistic, essentially liking this character was labeled bad horny. But it didn't work and the wallet spoke. I have to say, there is a change happening in the West and the lights are only getting brighter. If you're on the internet now, you can see it in real time with the latest PR disaster that is Dragon Age The Veilguard. In one of the first promotional reviews for said game by IGN, they made note of how amazing and inclusive the character creator was, only to show some of the worst character designs I have ever seen this side of a 7-Eleven parking lot, I'll tell you what. But wouldn't you know it, after watching the review, it finally dawned upon me what's actually happening and why it feels like your sensibilities are being attacked in these modern Western games. The goon bait is still there. They're just not making it for you and me anymore. That's honestly one of the simplest ways that I can put it. I mean, think about it. Top scars, vitiligo, crippled fat people, bestiality, they're making it for themselves. This is all a power play to try and force the new definition of beautiful. I know that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but as a society, people have made it quite clear what they've considered overall attractive, and the cards are in place to attempt to demoralize the buyers and subvert those beliefs. For women, it's soft features, a shapely frame, and an overall pleasant appearance. For men, it's being built like a fucking brick shithouse, or at the very least having a jawline that can chisel rock. These are the ideal forms that a lot of people have for themselves, that a lot of people idolize, that they want to pay money to see. But what happens when you give the keys to the castle to people who know they will never attain these standards? And not only do they know they'll never be considered typically beautiful, but resent that reality and you existing in it as well. You get crap like Fable, Concord, Dustborn, visual garbage that attacks the idea of beauty for the new golden standard of inclusivity. But what's crazy to me is that more often than not, the men get to stay beautiful, or for the most part untouched. Why is it that only the women are taking the licks? DEI, wokeness, the woke mind virus, blue-haired liberalism, whatever you want to call it, it has only given these people the foothold they need to get into the door. But the reality is, the uglies have taken over. In the world of the haves and the have-nots are winning right now. That's why everything is so gross. That's why everything is so against actual beauty. Right now, if you were to express that a video game character is ugly, then you get branded a little crybaby for not being able to jork it to a 3D girl. But the very same people that call you out for it are also cranking it to the same stuff, and then some. It's almost always the case, and they only ever call you out as a ploy for moral superiority, while in the background, shamelessly promoting degeneracy. You're getting outgooned, Anon. That's the only explanation that I can come up with, without delving more into the tinfoil hat side of things. Follow the money. That's why the East is kicking our butts right now, because not only do they understand what the people want, but they are also willing to provide it. Like, I really didn't want to come off as a reactionary in this video, but it's really something I cannot ignore. And there are people who still can't really place their fingers on what's happening, and I hope that at the very least, this video gives you an avenue into looking into this for yourself. Video games at their very core is escapist entertainment. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get away from the outside world and live in the place of make-believe for a while, where everyone is smoking hot and ripped as hell. There's nothing wrong with that. People want an escape. They need an escape. And to deny that is like denying a bit of your sanity, no? One of the main defenses that people have for when you point these things out is, why do you care? It doesn't matter that it's there. It's not hurting you. To them, I say, if it doesn't matter, then why is it there? If it's so minor, so minute, so inconsequential, why was it even implemented in the first place? But these are the questions you're not allowed to ask without being labeled an ist or a phobe or a whatever the flip. One side is able to openly show their disdain while the other has to keep their heads down and accept the hurt, which I don't really think is very fair. The tactic of downplaying an issue while continuing to let it spread will be the downfall of Western entertainment. And if you're wondering what a part of the issue is, it's that we're letting the wrong people control the narrative. We're letting the wrong people set the standard. It's one thing, right, to put your own personal beliefs into a project, but on top of that, these games just aren't good. Or at least not even good enough to pay for themselves. Not even good enough to justify their existence. Where is the innovation? Where are the chance takers? Where are the rule breakers? This is all just soulless corporate nonsense. It seems like this stuff is being ran by people who can't stand on their own feet skill-wise, so they decide to dance with the devil and just become sycophants, lapdogs, yes men, picks in the box for the DEI bingo, and the ones that actually want to break the mold are being pushed out. And I think that's a huge problem. It has to be fetishization, right? Is it revenge? Is it just sheer fucking hubris? Since when has the new counterculture become being fucking normal? Sure, add your gender politics, weird fetishes, and ugly women to the game, as long as it doesn't affect gameplay. But we still haven't been able to get a solid product even on those terms. Fine, honestly, I don't care. Let them make their freak bait appealing to the lowest common denominator. Let them tell me that these products aren't for me. I really don't give a hoot, but it's the very same people preaching this stuff that will then beat down on you for not buying. And I think that's the most annoying part of all of this discourse. Maybe we are being whiny little babies because we can't base our hogs to an animated picture of a video game woman. But let's all stop pretending for a second that games like Overwatch and League of Legends got to where they were solely on gameplay. If I don't jive with something, it's not because I'm an ist or a phobe, it's just that when certain aspects are added to a game or a product, these are markers for a bad time, and people are starting to become wise to it. So I don't think there's any particular problem with not wanting to waste your money on something that might be good. When there are people in the past that have taken the chance with some of these products and were burned to all hell. Feel how you want about it, but money talks. And the numbers don't lie. Yes, I know it's heartbreaking that these parasites are coming into your favorite franchises and torching the place, but the old stuff still exists to enjoy. And once they learn their lesson, I think we could just wait for them to leave and go back to enjoying our things again. Hopefully. What did Tolkien say? Evil cannot create, it only corrupts? Something like that. Whatever. Peace.